The art and creative sector has contributed immensely to the economic growth of Nigeria over the years. The Ministry of Art and Culture, which has always been merged with information, is now independent under President Bola Tinubu's administration. The President released the portfolios for the 45 confirmed ministerial nominees, and Hannatu Musawa was assigned Minister-designate of Art, Culture and the Creative Economy. The establishment of the Ministry of Art, Culture and the Creative Economy underscores the determination of the President to foster an environment where talents can thrive, cultural heritage can be preserved, and the country can begin reaping tapping the full potential from the creative economy. Well, joining us in the studio is publicist, entertainment editor for Niger Post and Standard Mirror. He's also a filmmaker, Ediale Kingsley. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank
Good
you
morning.
for
Good
joining
to
us.
Great.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Now, let's even begin with this move that the president made, separating the arts and culture ministry from that of information. What do you make of it? What do you think is the president's intention?
Yeah, I think it's about time. I think it's just the realization that it's an important sector. For a very long time, we've said it is actually the second largest employer of labor. But if you begin to look critically, it's perhaps even so close to being the largest. Because in this industry, you have a lot of one-man companies. It's one of the industries where you have more one-man companies. And yeah, I think it's just a right step in the right direction.
All right. As it is, of course, arts, the creative industry is one industry you can't benchmark on the grounds of theories and, standards, because the way you're thinking it, the way you want to do is your concept, and it has to be respected. It has to be seen from the perspective of the uniqueness or the peculiarity of the person or what you're putting out and all of that. But talk to us from the window of government versus creative arts or the creative industry. Some people have said that this doesn't necessarily make so much. Speak to us how government can take advantage of that creative industry and the creative industry taking advantage of government's readiness to partner and work with you.
Yeah, currently it is one of the most understructured understructured.
I like the word unstructured.
Yes, and also it also needs infrastructure. Then aside this, I'm thinking and undertaxed. So the best way, there are a lot of taxes, a lot of ways the government can begin to benefit. Already the government is benefiting because the sector provides great intervention in the Department of Employment, as I said earlier on. It's an industry, a sector where the government can readily tap solutions for its major problems, especially how to engage the youth, how to engage youth, how to provide employment. Because at the end of the day, the gap of persons in that industry are usually young persons in the creative. So if you have these young persons well engaged, if they have jobs, they're able to provide for the elderly ones. And also, so specifically to your question, I think education comes in place. The government still needs education. The government needs, the ministry would need to educate herself about the creative industry. And the creative industry also needs education. For instance, there are a lot of laws. The copyright law, for instance, that has just been gazetted in 2023, March 2023. There are a lot of people operating even in the industry that still do not understand what it means, or that there's even something like that. So there's still need for education for both parties, so that both parties understand. Even to start with, we need a conclusive list of people in this sector, because by the time
is that possible?
We need it's possible. It will take time. It will take energy, but you need to understand, because textile, for instance, there's a particular ministry that didn't know it's a particular time that they didn't know it was actually part of the creative industry. So there are a lot of, we need to even start from there. Let's define who is in the arts, culture, and creative industry. There needs to be that conclusive list. Put in some research so you understand the people you want to provide structure for. Because by the time you provide a structure, you provide infrastructure, you are not able to understand them and even bring some certain control. It seems uncontrollable now because you've not done those basic things.
When you're talking about structure and infrastructure, perhaps you need to break it down to specific terms so that those who are in these industries, be it those in the entertainment and even government, can understand what you're talking about, because this is a way of educating everyone.
Yeah. For instance, we need more national projects. For instance, we have the National Art Theatre. The project at a particular time was a tool in the hands of the government. And over time, but it wasn't sustainable because perhaps it was a project under the military. The military created it for their own personal. They had what they wanted to do at that time. Probably they wanted to show outside this country because at that particular period, military period, other countries were not having to do with them. So they wanted to show that they can do this all by themselves. So they created the National Theatre and also had a festival of arts to follow it. Yeah. So now we need.
But it was really huge.
It was huge, but at the end of the day, because it was not built to last, at the end of the day, it started deteriorating, and for now, you see it's not as powerful as it should be. But it's actually good because at the end of the day, we need platforms, structures again like that. The National Theatre, that can compete, a place that can compete, for instance, with O2 Arena, where our big stars can go, and it will be such a way that if you've not performed there, you're not rated. Because now all our Nigerian artists want to go to O2 Arena, they want to go to
Manhattan.
Exactly. So these are the structures, and we need locations.
The Madison Square.
Yeah, we need this kind of locations. And like I said, our art and culture now, our entertainment is now a global product. It's well consumed now. It's about time we also benefit from these things, because at the end of the day, because of the population size of our population size, it's very appealing to the people. So that's why I see the brands like Netflix and these people coming in. But we also need to we need something like a national events, national festival. We need more of such national festivals. So like I said, we need more of national stuffs, national organizations, national structures, national platforms. These are also...
But can the government do that on its own? We see private organization and the private sector coming in as well to do some of these things. There are persons who own some of these platforms that people use.
If you see, the government cannot do it all by itself. But now we are talking about the government. These guys are not even going to wait are not actually waiting for the governor, or the government rather. But at the end of the day, you discover that there are a lot of projects that are dwarfed, that are limited because of the amount of funds needed and education. If you discover the sector, a lot of them are quite educated. They need to know more so that they can be able to access these funds. People like Mo Abudu and the likes, who are well educated in how to access capital grants, capital funding and the likes. Without the government participating, most of these creatives will not be able to access such large funds. So by the time they come and play their own role, which they have already started doing, because like I said, the copyright law, for instance, it helps them, because it's one thing for you to produce your product as a creative, and another thing for it to be protected. The copyright law actually protects it now. So without the government playing, there's no, the private sector cannot handle that. But right now, a copyright officer is as solid as a police officer. Because of this law, they can close down your business. They can enforce the law as well. So I think it's needed. We need the government.
All right. You mentioned earlier that the creatives or the creative industry, as a body, needs to educate itself about the laws and all of those, and then the government also has to educate itself about how the creative industry works, who is where, who is doing what, who should be in, who should be out, breaking it into all of those segments and all of that. But where do we start from? Is it the government calling everybody? It's not going to be easy to call all musicians or call all actors or directors or, whatever. But how will that work from your perspective? Because I see that you have a great idea of how these things should play out. Yeah. But where should we start from? Where should government start from? Or where should the industry start from?
I think they've already started.
Okay.
Separating it already. It's one way to start. It's a sector valued at $9 billion. It's an important sector. So you need representatives. I think they've always relied on such committees, creative committees, and there are industry captains, sectors, categories of captains. Yeah. So we can have these representatives work hand in hand with the ministry. I think it's very easy to say.
But the way the industry is so fluid, do players in the industry see those persons as their representative? Because the moment one person or the other person is chosen as a representative, when they didn't come together to say, okay, you go for us, sometimes there's this ego thing that makes it look at he is better than me or he is higher than me, that's why he is representing me. For instance, in the comedy subsector, for instance, nobody's going to doubt the fact that Alibaba is one of the biggest names that you're going to mention. And because of the way he almost single-handedly pushed that industry to what it became, it is easier for everybody to fall in line when you're talking about comedy.
Yeah.
But how about acting? How about music?
Yeah.
The point there is, if you say, okay, Burna Boy or Davido or Wizkid or Two-Face or Idris Abdulkarim represent the industry. Of course, how are you going to talk about people like Onyeka Onwenu, who were singers, King Sunny Ade, Shino Peters, and the others? So all of it becomes challenging to get people who can represent, and when they speak, everybody falls in line in the music industry. Or is the same thing in the movie industry as well. So how do we handle that? How do we navigate that?
Where you're creating such committees, somebody, you just need to rely on the power you're giving to such.
Okay.
It's going to be representative at the end of the day. And you just need to look for people with influence. At the end of the day, some people have more influence over others, even in the music industry. You just need to, if you do your selection well enough, if you put enough research in selecting, you will get it. For instance, you just mentioned the comedy that people would listen. There are still people, you'll be surprised, who would not listen to Alibaba. But the fact that if he is the one representing you, just like the police officer, you may not like the police officer's face, but if he's coming to make an arrest based on the fact that he's putting on a uniform and the law empowers him to do so, you want to listen to him. So there are also, if you also make, I think first, everything comes back to that list, because these days, where do you even group the influencers? Because this is a new term now. We have people called influencers, and they are making a lot of money. Also providing lots of jobs as well. Yeah. So everything starts from that conclusive list.
It's very important.
Very important
for the ministry to be able to achieve anything concrete.
Yeah, because
and
a lot of
move
people are
the
left out.
industry forward.
Yeah, a lot of people are left. Before it used to be just okay, the top four. We understand the fact that the IT department, because these days everything drives on it, rides on it. So we have the IT, we have the fashion. Everybody wants to put on good clothes, nice clothes. So our fabrics, the way we organize ourselves in terms of fashion. Then we have the music and the movies. But now it's gone way, way more than that. You know, there are, for instance, a comedian. There are many one-man comedy companies in this, and they're just existing and operating
in isolation.
So we need to, and the best way for everybody to benefit is organization. So that's why I say we need to organize ourselves in the industry. The government needs to study us well. We need to also study the things the government is already doing, because the government is quite, at least this, the last 2-3 administration, they seem to care enough for the industry.
Right from the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, when money is
exactly
for the industry.
Exactly.
Right. Now, let's look at, earlier you mentioned the matter of taxation. Were you saying that there was multiple taxation? How is that really affecting the industry?
Apparently, there's multiple taxation in some area, and in another area, some people are largely undertaxed. For instance,
not even taxed
at all.
Because they do not know their income.
Government you don't know
spotlighting them.
Yeah, so you are not going to be you can't tax them directly. For instance, a comedian wakes up this morning and he has the gift and talent of cracking ribs and starts a company. What does he need to start a company? He registers a social media platform, gets a website, and he's operating. He goes every Saturday. He makes money doing MC jobs. He starts having people who look up to him, maybe or her. They have 1 or 2, 3 people, and they are going like that, making money from events. So at the end of the day, and these guys are not running away from taxes.
Really?
Yes. There's no sane human, because it's also a level of education. But by the time you provide, if you protect, they are making too much. If you protect them enough, protect them from piracy, and they actually understand that there are laws protecting them from these pirates, and they are making so much money, how much they contributing their quota in form of taxes also helps them, provide security for them, means they can also do their job well. So it's just like the social media, these social media apps, for instance. People are giving the social media apps their money, doing what's it called, ads on the platform. But as long as they know it's going to function for them, they are willing to give that social media platform their part of the money consistently, doing that so that they can get the returns.
Well, the point there is the way the Nigerian entertainment or creative, I like to use the word creative so that it encompasses a whole lot of the way it is. Of course, you said there doesn't seem to be structure. It is very fluid.
Yeah.
But if you go to the United States, for instance, where it is even bigger, we see, structures and so on.
Yeah.
Here and there for the fashion, they have, a closed system where they monitor everything. If deals are going to be signed, they know what is there. Your taxes are already factored into it. Rather, there's a third party from the government who is present when deals are signed. Everything is calculated, everything is paid. And if you don't pay your taxes, of course, the police are coming for you and so on. What do we have to learn, and how are we going to learn from the American system, where the systems work and everybody is benefiting, the artist is benefiting, the government is benefiting, and everyone who even sits down to watch is also benefiting in his own respect?
We are going to learn but we need to learn fast because these things are even happening with the speed of the lightning as it's here. There are a lot of things we need to understand right now. That is why I said it still goes back to we educating ourselves. Because there are, right now, we are gradually moving into something called, strongly into something called the artificial intelligence. That even in the American space now, it's also a serious thing. So if we do not, but we need to first cover some ground. So we need to first get to the level where we have those structure and those infrastructure in place so that we can now start also expanding our, how will I call it now, our own tentacles into those areas, the AI, artificial intelligence areas. So yes, well, it's basic. The structure solves this. And it's not as if we're that structureless. It's just that we need more power and we need more effort coming from the government. We need more of these things, more of these bodies created. And like I said, some of the bills, we have the creative development bills. There are some of these bills already
on the
ground. Already, it's not as, they are guilds. Usually guilds control the creative sectors in America. And these guilds exist even in the country. But because like I said, we don't have, there are still some of these players in these sectors that are not even considered. So there's no consideration for them, no platform for them. So there's not even the capacity for them to even have guilds yet. But we need to start on, if we understand them well enough, we also have a way of also tallying them into even the educational system. Because now you want to, can you study cinematography in the traditional tertiary system of this country? You probably discover how difficult it is. As important as that department is, you need to wait for somebody to create just a school, a private arrangement. But if we begin to put all these things into consideration, we'll know more and know what to do.
No. So I am wondering what the level of engagement has been with government over all of these issues that you have mentioned over the years. The creative industry has been around for decades.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why we are still, these are like teething problems that we're still talking about. What is the level of engagement over the years?
Yeah, over the years, there have been serious engagements. Like you said, the Jonathan era, serious engagement. It's just over time. These are issues that would be dealt with or covered over time. And at the end of the day, I'm sure the government will have that eventual grip over it. But it's just step by step. They create, like I said, they create these committees every day. They have the creative, what's it called now? Industry committee with these names, them Alibaba. Over time, Alibaba in particular has provided these well-researched documents to the ministry. So over time, they've been this interaction back and forth, and I'm sure that is why we are even where we are today. So we just need more of that. We need them to interact more, the government to interact more with these persons. They are all there, and they wield some this level of influence that can also go down, trickle down the line. So.
All right. Well, there's a new minister on ground and a new ministry, a new minister for the creative industry now. And as it is, are you all comfortable that you now have yours and you can now engage? It's time now to take off.
Yeah, it's one of the beautiful things about this particular development is that we are also having the sports separated from the youth than this. It's a beautiful development. And more importantly, the person coming from having this legal background, we are hoping that she'll be coming with a lot of legislative advocacies. She has quite the background to be able to execute some of these things, because at the end of the day, the policies, legislative requirements would need a brain such as her and a background. So yes, we are indeed delighted.
All right, we'll leave the conversation here. Publicist, entertainment editor for Niger Post and Standard Mirror, Ediale Kingsley, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.